Hi there everyone, I'm Michael Goldberg. This is the reading list for TheGeekSide.net. Alright, we're going to start off this week, first ever episode, Blackest Night. Now, this is the runaway hit from DC Comics, topping up the charts on everything. If it crosses over, it's going to sell. So let's take a little bit of a look at the series itself and how, for people who are just picking this up for the first time, you can better understand what's going on. There's a lot of stuff within Blackest Night, so it's really important that we break it down into a few different stories. Let's start off with the obvious one. We're going to start off with Green Lantern. Now, the main focus of the Green Lantern series has always been Hal Jordan. And I'm going to recommend reading this, though it's not canon anymore, but Emerald Dawn. It's the origin story of the Green Lantern, of Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern. Now we're going to get rid of most of the stuff with Jeff Johns' retelling. It's a lot of repetitive, but there's some added stuff. But the thing is Emerald Dawn sets up Emerald Twilight, which is the demise of Hal Jordan as the heroic Green Lantern. And it's really important that we understand exactly what this plays into down the road. So, highly recommend that you pick up Emerald Dawn, then you read Emerald Twilight. If you're enjoying that, there's 0 Hour, which is actually a pretty good book to pick up as well, because it leads into a whole bunch of other stuff. But if you're not enjoying the whole Parallax thing, skip 0 Hour, go straight to The Final Night. Death of Hal Jordan, kind of heroic return to that character. You then pick it up again with, well, pretty much everything Jeff Johns has written under the Green Lantern banner. So, Green Lantern Rebirth, absolute must. And then you've got to pretty much read everything that he wrote. Now, if you don't have the money for it, if you don't want to spend the money for it, completely understandable. Skip from Rebirth right to the Sinestro Corps War. It's a really big jump, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in between, but it really isn't that important and crucial to the understanding of Blackest Night. So I would say, if you don't want to read everything that it's written, fully understandable, skip. Sinestro Corps War is where you need to go right after Rebirth. From there, it's actually really simple because, well, it's everything that follows. Every single trade that follows the two that were put out for Sinestro Corps War, you need to pick up because all of that leads into Blackest Night. Alright, that's pretty much the Green Lantern covered. Let's look at the other side, the Green Lantern Corps. Again, this one is fairly easy. Pick up the first Green Lantern Corps series. I think it's called In the Beginning. It's not hugely important in the sense that it plays into Blackest Night, but it does actually have a lot of relevance in understanding the characters. And these characters obviously play a big role in Blackest Night as it's a Green Lantern universe story. So you're going to want to pick that one up. After that, again, skip till after the Sinestro Corps War, and you can read, there's the Green Lantern Hunt for the Rings and The Sins of the Star Sapphires. Both of them are very important books to pick up. Next up is understanding DC Universe as it stands right now. I wouldn't suggest you have to read this as part of Blackest Night. I would say you do have to read this series because it was really important for a time period, and it's really kind of an interesting story. But Crisis of Infinite Earths, written in the 80s to deal with the fact that, well, DC had way too many universes going on. Back then there was Earth A, Earth Prime, Earth 2, you get the idea. There was a ton of these Earths, and they decided this is just way too complicated. We're just going to compress everything together. All right, not a problem. This happens. Now, the only reason you really need to understand it is that, well, some of these characters come back and play a role in Blackest Night. Now, it's not a huge role, and if you're picking up some of the side stories like the Blackest Night Superman, then it is a huge role, and you do need to understand that part of it. But it's a good read nonetheless. Now, to understand where the DC Universe is now, it's important to read Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis. These weren't the most wonderful of books. They were decent, but they weren't all that exciting. And Final Crisis I still don't completely understand and wasn't a really big fan of. But they're worth the read in just understanding where the world is shaped right now in the DC Universe. From there, I would say that, you know, picking up all the tie-ins that were done is something we'll probably talk about on the Geek Side down the road. I'm not a big fan of all of that. If you're going to buy the book, buy the book. If you just want the rings, you can get the packages. However, I will say that the Blackest Night Superman and the Blackest Night Batman I've read, and both were incredible. And the Blackest Night Titans I've heard was really good. I'm not a big fan of the Titans, and I don't know them well enough, so I didn't pick them up. But there you have it, the reading list for Blackest Night. Make sure you check out the site, TheGeekSide.net, where I'll list everything that you need to see, and some links to a few helpful resources, obviously the wiki pages. But at the same time, there's a ton of fan sites. And always remember to check out the Geek Side. Come in, join in on the conversation. We ask you to post video and your comments. Let us know what you think. Until next time, keep reading.